Hi everyone, my name is Caitlin Boutros, and about a year and a half ago I went on a short-term mission trip to Japan. I stayed for the whole 12 months with OMF International on one of their Serve Asia trips, which can be anywhere from a couple of weeks up to an entire year. I thought I'd give you a quick recap, see if I can cram it all down to around 90 seconds. So here we go. Meet the Jessups. You've got Paul, Mel, Heidi, Pippa, and a baby that hasn't even been born yet. They're moving to Japan, to Sapporo, so that they can learn the language and the culture and therefore reach the rest of the Japanese church. This means that they've got 3 young girls at home who all need to be looked after while they're studying. That's where I come into it. I moved to Japan for 1 year to help look after these 3 beautiful girls so that the parents could find the time to study. This involved looking after Pippa while her older sister Heidi was at school, and for the first half of the year helping Mel at home with his newborn little Annie. Once all the girls were older and I had all 3 at home at once, we had so much fun playing and going to parks and colouring in and things. 1 day a week I would also help out at the guest house, cleaning rooms and cleaning the house and getting it ready for winter. I had to extend my visa, and so I went to Korea for 1 week, where I met a stranger and we became friends and had real Korean barbecue. I arrived back in Japan in time for a nice snowy winter, which meant lots of fun playing with the girls outside in the snow. 1 day a week, I picked up swimming with a family to help the mother out as well. Then came Christmas. I enjoyed spending time with the family and the kids as well as some other friends. A couple of months later, I went down to Tokyo and met some of my best friends as we travelled around Disney World. A few months after that, we had the huge OMF conference where I helped run a childcare program. We had workers coming from all around the world just to run this program for the conference. After that, it was just months of continuing to look after the kids and do babysitting, hang out with my friends, and really enjoy and experience the culture of Japan before having to head back home to Australia after my year was finished. I hope that made some sense. That's what I got up to in my 1 year in Japan. I'm now going to give you 5 tips that I think would be useful for anyone wanting to do a short-term mission trip. So here are my 5 tips. Number 1. Take at least 3 recipes with you, ones that you know really well, you know the ingredients off by heart, and you don't need to be able to read another language to tell what it is. Things like pasta and fruit and veg and things like that. My favorite easy to go recipe was just normal spaghetti bolognese. I could find pasta without having to read the label. I could find mincemeat, canned tomatoes, and any other vegetables that I want to include. Number 2. Write letters to people. See if you can find at least 2 or 3 different pen pals. This is probably more specifically for those who are doing a longer term trip. But of the 3 times I've lived overseas, I always had at least 3 or 4 people that I would write letters to. The first time I traveled overseas, I wrote 30 letters, got about 10 back, and then when I replied to those, I got about 3 or 4 people writing back, and they were my consistent ones. Not always people I would expect, but fantastic all the same. And it gives you a real sense of excitement if you're living somewhere to check the mail. It's not the same as a text message or an email, which of course are wonderful, and Skype and Facebook, but knowing that someone's taken the time to write a letter and go and post it, and there's that longer waiting, and it's just, it's a real encouragement to have when you're living overseas. Number 3. Learn the language as best that you can, even if it's just hello, goodbye. Even things like the weather. I was amazed at how more comfortable I felt going into shops and things, just being able to mention, oh, it's hot outside, or oh, it's raining, little things like that I take for granted back here in Australia, just being able to make that small talk with people around me. Even if they spoke back and I had no idea what they were saying, just that first connection and the same language was enough to really kind of make me feel like I was at home, that I belonged in this community. Of course, if you're staying for much longer, like a whole year, try and do as much as you can to be able to have even just small talk conversations with people. If you're going for a mission organization like OMF International, being able to learn the language enough to explain what you're doing there, that you have come with a mission organization and what that means. But yeah, definitely recommend that. Number 4. bring something from home which is your favorite, that makes you feel really comfortable. At some point, you're gonna get homesick. You're gonna face culture shock. You're gonna have these things. I didn't think it was gonna happen to me, and then all of a sudden I found I didn't want to eat any of the local food. I didn't really want to talk to any of the local people, and I just was like, I just need something familiar. I need something from home. What I brought was my favorite tea. It gave me a sense of comfort. I would take tea bags with me where I was going to work, and if I had some downtime, I would just really enjoy my cup of tea. And it was probably a bigger comfort to me than being able to call home or something like that, because it was where I was. It might also be something like a blanket, or a pair of slippers that you wear around the house, or maybe even some music, or something that you can put on, you can eat, something that if you closed your eyes you could imagine that you were back home. Lastly, number 5, pick something from the culture that you can pick as your favorite. Try different things until you find your favorite. Most of the time I would recommend this with food. It might be a song, it might be an activity, but when you're back home and, for example with Japan, you go eat Japanese food, you look through a menu and say, oh, this was my favorite, and it really helps you remember your time fondly. You might have a fantastic experience and you might have plenty of stories to share, but being able to pick one food, like one of mine was little pickled dried plums. A lot of people would think it's gross, but I loved it. I picked it as my favorite snack, and so now when I'm in Australia and I go to a Japanese shop and I find pickled plums, it's really exciting for me, and it helps me really remember the culture fondly. Anyway, thanks for listening. Bye!